All right, let's get into the show. Here is what I will not be talking about today. I will not be talking about San Diego State's men's basketball team getting a win against, I think, Wyoming, the Wyoming Cowboys, who are not a very good basketball team. San Diego State, I guess, needed that win. They got that win. There is no losing streak. There is no catastrophe. I will at some point talk about Brian Dutcher saying that San Diego State just does not have enough money anymore to compete with major college basketball programs. That's the thing that I've been saying for a while. And Aztec fans have kind of come for me and be like, you don't understand college basketball. They are competing with the major program. But we're not getting into that today. The other news story that we're not getting into today is apparently the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles, should they happen, will be hosting some soccer games. Undetermined if that will be men's, women's, what stage, what countries, et cetera, will be playing. They will be hosting some soccer games at Snapdragon Stadium. That was among like 5 different stadiums that they were like, yeah, we'll be hosting soccer games at all these stadiums. That's about all the information we have. People are getting very excited about it. I, too, am excited about the idea of going and watching Olympic soccer at Snapdragon Stadium. And probably, getting burned and melting away in the process. But we don't really have any additional news to that outside of there's going to be some Olympic soccer games there if everything goes according to plan. So those are the stories we're not talking about today. I would first like to talk about the San Diego Padres. Here's my update. I'm going to try and remember to keep doing this. It has been 110 days since AJ Preller's potential contract extension became a topic of conversation. It has been 89 days since the Padres publicly said that he was working on an extension with John Seidler. So we're past 3 months, almost at 4 months for how long this has been a news story without much movement, without much additional information. That's just my regular Padres update. Now we can get into the news. There is good news. And for anyone who watched me on Talking Friars yesterday with Ben Fadden, I think I was overly pessimistic. And that's the place I've been for a little while now when it comes to the San Diego Padres. But inside of John Gennaro lives 2 wolves when it comes to the San Diego Padres. And one of them is a pessimist, and the other one grabs onto any glimmer of hope and tries to turn it into the end all be all. Yesterday we got some, I don't even know if I want to call it news. It's almost an answer to a question that we've had since John Seidler and his family announced that they would be seeking a sale of the San Diego Padres. I have been wondering what happens with Shiel Seidler's ownership stake. Shiel Seidler's ownership stake and controlling interest of the Padres, all this stuff, this was locked up in court. And I thought for a sale to be completed, those court proceedings are going to have to, start and finish. No one's going to buy this team not knowing whether or not they're going to be getting sued by Peter Seidler's widow, right? Well, yesterday, Shiel Seidler dropped almost every claim she had against John Seidler and the Seidler family. At least she dropped everyone as it pertains to the team itself. There are a couple claims left about how the trust has been facilitated and whatever, but those things aren't team specific. Things specific to the San Diego Padres, Shiel Seidler has dropped with prejudice, which means she cannot bring it back up later and resue them. This is over. This is settled. Now, we don't exactly know how or why it was settled. We might never know how or why it was settled. We don't know if the Seidler brothers were like, hey, we'll throw you a few $1 million if you drop this because it's really getting in the way of our sale. We don't know if maybe Shiel met with a potential buyer and decided like, yeah, sure, I want in on that too. I will drop my lawsuit so that I can collect the money from whoever wants to buy the team. I don't know, but it's good news. As convoluted and bleak as I made the Padres' future sound on Talking Friars yesterday, it got less convoluted, more simple, and more optimistic with Shield dropping this lawsuit yesterday. That's great news. Um, I have been very, very skeptical. Talked about this with Ben yesterday. I've been very, very skeptical of the idea that anyone would want to buy the San Diego Padres before a new CBA agreement had been worked out between Major League Baseball's owners and the Major League Baseball Players Association. For two reasons. One, that dictates the rules of the sport, including the financial rules of the sport. When you are buying the San Diego Padres, you are doing a P&L sheet. You are trying to figure out how much money will I make or lose in any given season. And over the course of time, will my investment end up being worth it and why? And that is almost impossible to do and predict if you don't know what the rules are going to be beyond this one season. In addition to that, MLB owners have been saying pretty publicly that they are digging their heels in and that they want to institute a salary cap in Major League Baseball, a thing that baseball has not had, a thing that the NFL has, and the NBA has, and the NHL has, and MLS has to a certain degree. And it is the thing that has made the Dodgers be able, I mean, in addition to the fact the Dodgers make a ton of money, it is the one thing that has made it possible for the Los Angeles Dodgers to spend so much more money than everybody else, especially everybody else in their division, to just kind of dominate the sport, is not having a salary cap. And so the owners seem dug in on this. The players obviously want no salary cap because a salary cap lowers the amount of money that the players get typically. There are ways around this. I think the way that the NBA has handled the last 10 years or so has been something of a model that shows how the players in total and individually can make a lot more money than what they were making previously, and you fit it inside the salary cap. There are ways to do this, which means maybe there's hope for it, but the owners seem happy with the idea, maybe not happy. They seem fine with the idea of locking out the players for the 2027 MLB season, the entire 2027 MLB season. And maybe this is posturing, maybe this is just talk, but they seem fine with the idea of locking the players out for an entire season, not selling any tickets, not getting any ad revenue, not getting any TV revenue, which matters, more to teams like the Dodgers than it does to teams like the Padres, who their TV production stuff is coming from Major League Baseball and doesn't really net them a ton of money. But all the avenues to make money as a Major League Baseball organization, not all of them, most of them, sorry to Eric Grupner and the concerts and all that, most of them come from baseball games being played and selling tickets to those things and selling parking for the people who go to those things and selling concessions to the people who show up and selling ads inside the stadium and selling ads on the TV broadcast for the people that are watching. All of those are ways to make back the money that pay for, upkeep of the stadium, that pay for all the employees who work for the team that are not baseball players. And a lot of MLB owners have complained about, the 2020 season where they weren't allowed to sell tickets for a lot of it. And they weren't allowed to sell full houses of tickets for a lot of it, how much that hurt them financially and how much they lost financially from that season. So for them to say, we're fine locking out the players for 2027 because we think that is a necessary step to get a salary cap. That's a dramatic thing. And it's basically them saying, we are fine with losing hundreds of millions of dollars if it means we get a salary cap on the back end of it. And if you are a longtime owner, You're the owner of the I'd throw a team out there. Arizona Diamondbacks, San Francisco Giants, whatever. Yeah, maybe you have been so disillusioned and you're so frustrated by the Dodgers just outspending you and the Mets just outspending you and the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Cubs just outspending you to a point that you can't keep up with. The Seattle Mariners are great team to bring up as someone who probably would have been competing more had there been restrictions on how much a team could spend. And I've always thought that it would be damn near impossible to find someone who wants to buy the San Diego Padres with A, no idea how the business works after 2026, and B, you're signing up for what is probably going to be a big financial loss in 2027. And I've always thought, like, why would someone do that? Just wait. Like any prospective buyer, just wait. Ben Fadden yesterday on Talking Friars gave me the counterpoint, which is there's only 30 of these teams. They don't come up for sale very often. And there are people, billionaires, who want to buy one. There are ones that have tried to buy MLB teams and haven't been able to. And his point was, yeah, it's not an ideal situation, but there's enough billionaires out there that are willing to take the not ideal situation if it leads to them owning a Major League Baseball team. Maybe that's true. Sheila Seidler settling her lawsuit yesterday has me doing the Brian Windhorse fingers. Has me doing the, what's that all about? And it does make me believe a little bit the rumors that are out there that the Padres are closer than you'd think to selling the team. That's very interesting. I haven't seen those rumors come from any sort of credible source, which is why I've basically ignored them. But Sheila Seidler didn't drop her lawsuit for no reason. Like that's the main thing to remember here. She did not settle for no reason. And, I said earlier, maybe the Seidler brothers were like, hey, we'll give you some money to settle. I don't even think that works because A, they don't have a ton of money to throw at her. And B, she already has a stake in the team. She makes a lot of money. Peter left her a lot of money, more money than I have, more money than probably anyone who's listening to this has. So if she's not settling for no reason, but then out of the blue, she settles, that does feel like something is happening. Now, it could be really, really early. It could be that this firm that they hire to sell the team went back to her and said, it's going to be impossible for us to sell the team while this lawsuit's going on. And they explained it to her, and she was like, you know what, I would like for the sale to go through. I'd like to be done with this. I can't run the team on my own, et cetera, et cetera. So fine, I'll drop the lawsuit for the sake of finding potential buyers that don't keep hitting this roadblock or this barricade of the Sheila Seidler lawsuit. But it could also be that they had a buyer, that they have someone on the line, so to speak, who is like, I'm ready to buy the team. And either they or the Seidler brothers or the firm handling the sale or someone talked to Sheila and convinced her that it made more sense for her to go along with this purchase for X price. Maybe, new potential owner met with her and assured her that they were not going to, shit on Peter's legacy, that it was still going to be very important to them that the Padres be a World Series contender. Maybe they want to build a statue to Peter. Honestly, like if they built a they have a statue for Jerry Coleman at Petco Park. Peter Seidler, I love Jerry Coleman. Peter Seidler deserves a statue at Petco Park just as much as Jerry Coleman does, I think. I just thought of that, so I could be wrong about that, but I think. And so now you're starting to hear rumors about Joe Lacob. It's the only name that I've heard rumors about is Joe Lacob. Joe Lacob owns the Golden State Warriors and the Golden State Valkyries. And, I haven't looked if he owns anything else. Those are the things that I know him from. Oh, that is what his Wikipedia says. Principal owner of the Golden State Warriors and the Golden State Valkyries. He it was an investor. He made some really good investments. He made some money off those. He bought the Warriors with a small group of investors, and that group also launched the Valkyries last year. So Joe Lacob has, I guess, expressed an interest in buying the San Diego Padres publicly. If you know anything about Joe Lacob's history, you know that this is not the first time he has pulled something like this. Anytime something goes for sale, someone asks Joe Lacob about it because he's kind of viewed as like the exact kind of owner that you want. Now, he's not, because he doesn't have enough money to do this on his own. Like, he just can't walk in and buy the San Diego Padres. Can't be like Joe Lacob walks in, now Joe Lacob is the owner of the Padres. He bought the Warriors with a group. Same group owns the Valkyries. I was explaining to some people this morning that, like, his main partner that went in with him on the Warriors and the Valkyries is also a part owner of the LA Dodgers, is also a part owner of the Los Angeles Football Club and MLS. So Joe would probably need a partner or two, but it seems like he could probably find one. But Joe Lacob loves when people go to him and go, "Hey, you've been a fantastic owner for the Golden State Warriors." And he has been. Like, every title the Warriors have won, they've won with Joe Lacob as their principal owner. Chase Center in San Francisco, which, talk to anyone in the industry, will tell you that thing just prints money, was the idea of Joe Lacob and his business partners. It was part of the reason they bought the Warriors when the Warriors were in Oakland, was they had this idea to move the team to San Francisco and all the things that they would do with an arena in San Francisco. Joe Lacob also likes to get involved in things. He has been involved in signing players, cutting players, trading players, signing coaches, firing coaches. He's not the modern day, like, Mark Cuban, I guess, would be the name I would grab for there, but he's pretty close to it. And used to be when baseball teams came up for sale, Mark Cuban would be like, I would love to buy a baseball team. And I think he tried to buy the Cubs, and maybe he even tried to buy the Pirates at one point. There was a story very early on when Mark Cuban was a bit of a head case as an NBA owner, kept getting fined for criticizing the refs like on an almost weekly basis, that Major League Baseball owners had essentially told Mark Cuban, like, "Stop trying. We're never going to let you into this club." And so he stopped. But things have changed amongst that group, and things have changed amongst the dynamics of Major League Baseball. I do think if it was Joe Lacob as the primary governor of an ownership group that was buying the San Diego Padres, I do think that would be looked well upon by the other MLB owners. Joe Lacob is he's a good owner. He's been a great owner for the Warriors and the Valkyries. So if it's Joe Lacob, fantastic. I'd be very excited about that. That's probably about as close as we're gonna come to finding a Peter Seidler replacement, because Joe Lacob is someone who not only does he like owning teams, he likes owning winning teams, and he does not settle for losing, really. And that could be a blessing and a curse, right? Like, I could say the same thing about the Sacramento Kings owner, Vivek. Uh, and I always forget his name because I confuse him with the guy who ran for president. Um, but Vivek, the owner of the Sacramento Kings, he cares very deeply about winning, and the Kings never win because he gets too involved and he makes bad decisions. But if Joe Lacob were to become the principal governor of the San Diego Padres, I would celebrate that. I would be very excited about that. So this is the other wolf that's inside of me, right? You got to see the pessimistic one when I was on Talking Friars today. The optimistic one is sitting here saying, Sheil settling her part of this lawsuit is good news, and it could potentially mean that there is a sale just over the ridge that we can almost see. that might even come not necessarily before the start of the Major League Baseball season, but maybe before the start of the Major League Baseball season. Maybe before the trade deadline, maybe before the end of the season. And maybe Joe Lacob comes in and the first thing he does is he signs AJ Preller to a 10-year extension. I don't know. But I think yesterday I was screaming about how everything was bad, about how the financial future of the San Diego Padres was not great. I think I got Ben to agree with me that it was one of the worst long-term financial situations in baseball. Their farm system is nothing. It's been decimated. It's nothing. It is the worst farm system in baseball if you ask anyone who ranks different farm systems against each other. I know the guys at Mad Friars take some issue with that. I know they think it's better than it's ranked. I don't think they think it's that much better than the way it's ranked. So that's bad. And I took this ownership situation to be just another what? Why would AJ Preller take that contract extension? Why? He's signing himself up for a future in which he can't spend money because he's already spent too much money on players who are degrading quickly, and you're not going to be able to fill the team quickly with guys that were either signed as international free agents or guys that were drafted and developed because that takes years. And they don't have those guys anywhere close to coming up and competing for a major league roster spot. So I was just like, there's no reason for AJ Preller to take that extension. And the future for the Padres is as bleak as it's not ever been, but as bleak as it's been maybe since Peter Seidler bought the team. And I still believe a lot of that. But the Shield Seidler settlement gives me hope. And the idea of Joe Lacob, which could be foolish. Joe Lacob could be so far removed from the San Diego Padres that he's only appearing in Barry Bloom articles and no place else. But I'm being optimistic today. And I know a lot of people get tired of my pessimism. So that's my optimism, is that it might still be really bad, but maybe not. And gosh, if they could find a buyer, if they could find a real buyer who wants to buy the team before a lockout, that's a game changer, like an actual 180-degree game changer. So I'm hoping that's true. That's my Padres talk for today. San Diego Football Club, they played a game last night against Pumas. I don't know a lot about Pumas, but I do know that they play in Liga MX, and I know that they are good and that they spend money. They are usually one of the better teams in Liga MX, and I know that Liga MX is typically thought of as being better than Major League Soccer, if not, as good. The level of competition was not nothing. And for the first half of the game yesterday, for the first 65 minutes of the game last night against Pumas, I thought San Diego Football Club looked stuck in the mud a little bit. They were able to hold on to possession for the most part. They were able to move the ball up for the most part. But I kept seeing something that was worrying me. One of my favorite players last year in the early part of their inaugural season was Marcus Ingvartson. And then Marcus Ingvartson got some sort of lower body injury. I don't remember if it was a knee. For some reason, I feel like it was a hamstring or a groin, one of those kind of soft tissue injuries. And he came back at like the end of the season. Like he missed most of last season. He came back at the end of last season and he looked really rusty and he looked pretty uncomfortable. They would kind of bring him on for the last 20 minutes of a match and see if he could help. And for the most part, he didn't. This game really was supposed to be like, hey, Marcus is back. Marcus is back, and this is the guy that we needed. Like, they got Milan Alosky to replace Marcus Ingvartson. And then when that blew up, They got Amal Pellegrino to replace Milan Olaski, who was replacing Marcus Ingvartson. Um, and what they found out over the course of the season was that Amal Pellegrino was a better player up front on the left side where Chucky Lozano had been playing than he was as I believe it's called a 9, which is kind of like the middle of the front line, kind of the facilitator who's got a little scoring to him, right? And in last night's game, Chucky Lozano did not play. I know that's a question people were going to have. Chucky Lozano did not play. Was he even on the bench? He was not even on the bench. So I think it's probably safe to say that Chucky Lozano has played his last game with SDFC, but we don't know that to be true just yet. But Marcus Ingvartson started yesterday. He started in that number 9 spot. The last time SDFC played, Corey Baird was in that spot. I don't think Corey Baird is with this team anymore. I don't see him on the roster for last night, so I'm going to go with no. It did feel like... Also, CJ Dos Santos didn't play. I'm sure there's a reason for that. It's fine. Pablo Cisniega is fine. I'm not going to dig into that too much. But for the first 65 minutes of their game yesterday, it felt like there was something that was holding SDFC back. And I thought in real time that was Marcus Ingvartson. Because a lot of times you would see the ball matriculate down the field, get to the point where they wanted to pass it to Ingvartson and have him set up someone for a shot. And not every time, but a lot of the time, Ingvartson was not ready for the ball, A, or B, did not understand that while the ball was rolling towards him, defenses were going to be coming towards him at the same time. Maybe it's still rust. Maybe he just needs to play some more, get back to game speed or something. But it seemed like there was way too many offensive, I'm going to call them drives down the field that fell apart once Marcus Ingvartson got involved. So, what happened at the 65th minute? Alex Mighton came in and David Vasquez came in. Vasquez came in for Pedro Soma, who was playing the left wing spot, and looks like he was having a pretty mediocre game. I don't remember Pedro Soma being on the field, so that should tell you what kind of impact he had when he was out there. But that's fine. I also wasn't expecting much from Pedro Soma, and I don't know that many people were. David Vasquez came on in his spot and scored a goal and looked good doing it on a header from not a corner kick, I guess just a free kick, I think that one was. But at the 65th minute, Marcus Ingvartson comes off and they bring in Alex Mighton. And Alex Mighton is not a number 9. He's not a facilitator. Alex Mighton is a scorer. You bring on Alex Mighton because he's going to make people run around because he's really fast. And because if he gets a shot, he's going to take it. And Alex Mighton also scored a goal. I think he cleaned up a rebound and kicked it in at some point. After Ingvartson and Soma left and they were replaced by Vasquez and Mighton, pretty quickly thereafter, SDFC scored 4 goals in, I think, 18 minutes, which is nuts. It's crazy. And from what I could tell, the guy playing the 9, the guy playing the facilitator role, the guy playing almost the point guard of what the final shot was going to be was Anders Dreyer. Like, I saw Anders Dreyer go from looking for his own shot and not really getting any help from Marcus Ingvartson to set those up, to trying to set up other people's shot, understanding the gravity that he had as, one of the leading scorers in MLS last season. So he would pull the defense towards him and then sneak a pass out to somebody else. And there were goals for Luca Bombino, which there was a near goal for Luca Bombino that was one of the prettiest passes I've ever seen from Anders Dreyer. There was a Manu Dua header. That was the first score. That was off an Anders Dreyer corner kick. Um, Anders got an assist on one of these goals. Oh, he got the assist on the Manodua goal on the corner kick. Wilson Eisner was the guy doing the free kick in that David Vasquez took as a header. Alex Mighton cleaned it up 3-1. Luca Bombino, I think, also had a little bit of a cleanup to get 4-1. But once Anders Dreyer seemed to switch into facilitator mode and seemed less concerned with scoring and more concerned with how do we as a team take advantage of this defense and score, whew, that team took off. I don't know if that's a winning strategy for every game, but that was a winning strategy last night. Now, the question is the same question it always is. Who the hell is the 9 on this team? Because I should just look at the roster, I guess. Squad. Because again, I don't know. Amal Pellegrino has proven that he's not a 9. Tomas Angel has proven he's not a 9. Alex Mighton is not a 9. It does not look like Corey Baird is here. Obviously, Milan Alaski's not here. I don't know, man. Yeah, no Corey Baird. So I don't know who is going to be the starting 9. As of right now, my guess is they're going to keep defaulting to Marcus Ingvartson. And if he keeps proving that to be a bad decision, I'm sure Tyler Heaps will be on the phone to other clubs around the world trying to find himself another, I guess, Milan Alaski or someone who looked like Marcus Ingvartson looked for the first, 5-6 weeks of last season. But very impressive game for SDFC. Very impressive bit of coaching from Mikey Varas to understand where the weaknesses were and how to counteract that. Also, shout out my boy Manodua. I mean, I love that kid. He's so not only is he so good and so talented, but every time he does something, a defensive stop, a score, an assist, something, he immediately turns to the crowd and starts getting them fired up, throwing his hands up, "Come on, let's go." And like that's I you can't even program that into a person. That's just who he is, and it's awesome. And I love his energy. I'm still worried that he's too good for MLS. He's going to end up somewhere else. But for right now, take advantage because that dude is awesome. I don't think he has yet scored a goal in a Major League Soccer game. This does not count because this was a CONCACAF Champions Cup, first leg of a CONCACAF Champions Cup game. But it's coming. He's really good. Shout out Anders Dreyer for doing what was needed. And just shout out SDFC. I'm sure there's still a little bit of that Chucky thing hanging over them. And had they lost this game 1-0, which at one point Amal Pellegrino had like not quite an open net, but he had a shot. And he took the angle that he had and the ball went past the goal. I think if he had actually hit it on the right angle towards the goal, it would have been saved by the keeper. But after that happened, I remember whoever was doing the play-by-play said, "Was that their chance? Was that their chance to score?" Insinuating with, I don't know, 55, 60 minutes into a 90-minute match, insinuating that SDFC was running out of time to score and even tie this game. They won 4-1 against, again, a good team. So, great job by them. Great job by everyone involved. Had they lost 1-0, I'm sure there would be articles written today about Chucky Lozano. And, is he here? Is he not here? Why didn't they play him? Why wasn't he at least on the bench? He might be your most dangerous scorer. Why wouldn't you want him against a Mexican League team? He understands their style of play, etc. And instead, today, there's none of that. There's just, holy crap, they scored 4 goals really, really fast. which good for them. SDFC continues 1 game into, quote unquote season 2. SDFC continues to look like a really, really, really good football club. So that's awesome. There was definitely a point last night where I was a little worried, a little concerned. I'm not anymore. I'm very excited for the rest of CONCACAF Champions Cup. I'm very excited for the upcoming MLS season. Uh, they have once again renewed my faith that it's not going to be this fall from grace that some people may be expecting after the best first year in MLS history. They look just as good as they did last season. So that's great news. This is great news. This is an optimistic podcast. The one wolf inside of John Gennaro, the optimistic wolf inside of John Gennaro has won out today. I'm not going to be pessimistic. I don't even think I shit on anybody. It's a good start. Good start to the day. All right, I'm going to go enjoy what is a very hot, very beautiful, very fantastic February day in Carlsbad, California. Thank you so much for listening. I will eventually be doing this with guests and or co-hosts. But for these last few where I've been by myself, thank you for everyone who's listened. Thank you everyone who has given me feedback. Thank you everyone who has commented. Thank you everyone who has emailed or texted or DM'd me on Blue Sky. I appreciate it all. You guys are awesome. And until otherwise noted, I'm going to keep putting out content for all of you. Until later. I'm out.